bookworms. So today I'm going to do a review of The Lucky One by Nicholas Sparks. Now, any of you who vaguely know me will know that I am a sucker for a Nicholas Sparks book. I understand they are stereotypical chick lit books and as a whole are quite predictable, but I just really love the stories and his writing style is impeccable and I always enjoy his books. So I actually picked up this book from work. I walked into the kitchen one day and there was a bunch of books on the counter with a sign saying free books to help yourself, and I saw it there and I've been meaning to read this book since I saw the film a couple years back, so I sort of saw it there and thought, well hey, it's free, like I've got nothing to lose. And I'm really glad I did because I really enjoyed this book like I knew I would, and I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. So the general storyline of this book is the fact that a character called Logan is a Marine, and during his time in Iraq he finds a photograph of a woman. Now on the back it says keep safe, E. And he kind of picks it up and goes, oh, I need to return this to the rightful owner. So he then takes it and puts it on the little pin board back at his base, and within a couple of weeks no one's claimed it, so he kind of picks it up again and just puts it in his pocket. And from then on he becomes really lucky, as the title would suggest. Like, he starts winning poker games, whereas he used to be really bad at poker games and lost all his money. He would sort of survive bombs and shootings that he probably shouldn't have because they were aimed right for him. People around him would die in the bomb, but like he wouldn't. And his friend, I can't remember what his friend's called, it's either, I think it's Victor, and he basically says, that photograph of that woman is your lucky charm. Like, when you get out of Iraq, you have to go find this woman and thank her for saving your life on numerous occasions. So that's basically what he does. So he comes from Colorado and he walks from Colorado to a little place called Hampton, I believe, and I'm not sure where that is because I'm not very familiar with American geography, but from the characters' reactions when they found out he walked from Colorado was pretty sort of like, oh man, like you walked from Colorado, so I'm assuming it's quite far away. But yeah, so he basically walks across country to find this woman to thank her for saving his life with the photograph. So eventually he finds this woman and she has a little son called Ben, and he starts working in the kennels there because they want help because her grandmother's just had a stroke and her grandfather has recently died and she can't handle the kennels by herself, so they're looking for someone to hire. So Logan starts working at the kennels and gets closer to Beth, as you would expect in this sort of story. Beth is the woman in the photograph, in case that wasn't obvious. Her name's Elizabeth, and Elizabeth, Beth. And a part of the story that was of no surprise to me, considering it's from Nicholas Sparks, was the fact that Beth has an ex-husband who is somewhat crazy. He's a little bit of a psychopath, and he doesn't really like anyone getting close to Beth because he still doesn't have feelings for her, but he kind of wants to be like a friends with benefits situation, and so he kind of causes problems along the way. He has something in for Logan. He absolutely loathes the guy, and he does sort of everything in his power to kind of scare him away, get him to get away from Beth and his son, and it's sort of a story like that, really. Now, like I said, I really love the way Nicholas Sparks writes his books. I'm not even going to go into that because I feel there is no explanation really needed, but just the way that he describes things and the way he tells a story I think is amazing, and as I was reading it, I really did enjoy the way he was like phrasing things. The photo, as it turns out, belonged to Elizabeth's brother, and he sort of lost the photo in Iraq before passing away. So Logan, that's how Logan found it, because it was her brother's and then he kind of found it, and that's why no one came to claim it because he'd already died by this point. One thing that I actually did like in the story is the distinction between her name of Beth and Elizabeth. Now, everyone in her life calls her Beth, and the only person who called her Elizabeth was her brother. So because it says E on the back of the photograph, Logan knows her as Elizabeth, and so it was only a very minor part of the story, but it's kind of, he calls her Elizabeth even though everyone else calls her Beth, and everyone calls Logan by his last name, which is Tebow, but she calls him Logan. So I thought that was a very subtle but very nice sort of thing to put in a story, because it shows how close they are right from the very beginning, because he and her both call each other by a name that no one calls them by, and I think that's a very nice way of showing their bond before anything really happens. So that's pretty much, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So that's pretty much everything I want to say on this book. There is one more thing that I want to say about it. However, it is a major spoiler, so if you haven't read the book or if you haven't seen the film, I saw the film a couple years back, so I'm not entirely sure if the film ends the same way the book does. So I'm just throwing it out there. If you don't want any spoilers, then turn off now. If you don't really care, then carry on watching. The one thing that kind of does annoy me in Nicholas Sparks' books is the fact that if there is a character that is causing some sort of problem, the solution is just to kill them off. Because I read Safe Haven not too long ago, and again there was an angry ex-husband in Safe Haven who was causing a lot of problems for his ex-wife and her new lover. And at the end of the story, he goes full-on crazy and dies. He gets killed at the end of that story, and in this story, the crazy ex-husband gets killed. And I think even though it's good because it makes the story shorter, I feel that's sort of like the easy way out. Like, the Nicholas Sparks, he never really puts any effort into trying to resolve the situation between the characters and to make everything okay, he just kills them. And I think in a way that's kind of okay, because I think if we went through an entire book with a psychopathic ex-husband and then at the end of the book he started to be like, oh actually no, I'm okay with this, you'd be a bit like, oh that's convenient. Like, that wouldn't happen in real life. But I feel like he should meet somewhere in the middle. There should be a way to kind of resolve the situation without killing them. But I don't know. I guess I'll just read more Nicholas Sparks books and see if they're all the same. But yeah, that is the end of this review. So like I said, 4 out of 5 stars, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.